Amit. A very good morning, a good afternoon, and a good evening to everyone on the call. This is a webinar for the IBM Spectrum Protect, which was formerly known as the Tivoli Storage Manager, and this is for the server upgrade. My name is Rohit Fiske, and I'm a Level 2 team member from the IBM Spectrum Protect Product Support Worldwide team. So we will start the session here. Let's take a look at the agenda on this presentation, which is published on the slide. Today, we would be discussing on the planning and preparing the server for the upgrade and implementation of the upgrade. We would also be presenting and guiding you on the post-upgrade process as well as the troubleshooting in case of fail upgrade along with the rollback process. This is for the upgrade to Spectrum Protect server version 7.1 and 8.1. We take this across with 7.1.x and 8.1.x since all versions of 6.x and below are already end of support. We now move to the next slide, components of server upgrade. Under this slide, we find the components of the server package which would be upgraded. These are server languages, license, devices. The DB2 database is automatically upgraded when you select the server option, or we say component in this slide. We also have storage agent and the operation center in the same package. The storage agent will not be installed on the server. It would be installed only on the planned LAN-free nodes. The operation center can be installed on the same server or it can be installed on different server as per the requirement. We now move to slide number 4. This slide talks about the infrastructure planning requirement for the server upgrade. The operating system level needs to be compatible for the new version, which is as documented in the IBM Information Center. Please confirm the OS prerequisites before starting the upgrade. We come to the memory part. Memory has to be configured on the server as per the table provided. Let me explain one of the example. I have 500 GB of the database size, and I plan to do a standard server upgrade or install without a deduplication and a replication. So I just need 16 GB. If I need to do either a deduplication or a replication, it has to be 24 GB. And if I need both the deduplication and the replication, it's going to be 32 GB. And thereon. So this table tells you about the different figures of like 1000 GB, 1500 GB, and thereon. So that is as per your environment. For heavier workloads, it could require more memory. For multiple instances, each instance requires the memory that's listed for one server. So if you have, say, 4 instances on the server, then it is 4 times of the memory which is mentioned in the table. In case you have memory utilization limitations on the server with multiple instances, there is a server option dbem% to control the memory usage per server. That can be applied. As per the DB2 guidance, the swap memory has to be configured at least 50% of the physical memory. Now, we normally suggest it to be 2 times of the physical memory to ensure stable database operations when the database load is higher. We now move to the next slide, which is for the database requirements and the recovery log. It is, we first speak about the database requirement. Is It is recommended that you have separate file systems defined for each of the logs as well as the database. So you have different type of logs, which is archive log, you have failover log, you have active log, and you have mirror logs, right? So you need different file systems, and the database also has to be on a different file system. It should not be on the same file system as the logs. The benefit is that the chances of the server going down due to space full condition would be reduced if all the database backup operations operate and complete as per schedule. Even if your logs are full, it will not impact your database operation. The Spectrum Protect database is stored in this file systems. It is recommended that the database should be configured as a different file system as mentioned. Coming to the requirements of the database file system. Remember to configure minimum of 4 directories on different file systems for the database if your database size is up to 2 terabytes. In case of the database size is about 2 terabytes, it would be 8 directories on different file system. Same size file systems ensure that the database is balanced and hence there is no performance issues. For example, you can have DB01 on file system 1, DB02 on file system 2, DB03 on file system 3, DB04 on file system 4, and thereon. We come to the recovery log requirements. Ensure to keep all the resources, that is your storage pools, the database, and the logs on different file systems, which is as discussed earlier. The storage pool operations can interfere with database operation when both are on the same disk. Hence, keep storage pool disks separate from the disk for the server database and logs. The requirement. Active log directory space is expected to be at least 16 GB, and then after it can be added with 20% of extra space based on the load. The archive log directory space is expected to be at least 48 GB. There is no limitation for active log mirror space and the archive failover log space. We now move to next slide. This slide talks about the compatibility metrics between the client to server as well as the library manager to library clients and storage agents. We now move to the next slide. The points to remember prior to the upgrade. We usually get queries on the estimated time required for the upgrade. In ideal conditions, when the database size is less, it may take about 1 hour for the upgrade. It may increase based on your database size and your infrastructure. Note that the upgrade is possible by a one-step approach for version starting version 6.3x. For all previous versions below 6.3x, it would be two-step approach, that is wherein your 5.5 or 6.1 server or 6.2 server needs to be first upgraded to 6.3 and thereon it has to upgrade it to 7.1 or 8.1. This is as per couple of questions which we come across. Restoration from the previous version client to the latest version is possible when the server is compatible with the new version. If there is a compatibility issue with the server, then you may face restore issues. Going to the next slide. We are preparing for upgrade. Okay. Before preparing any upgrade for the Spectrum Protect server or any changes on the server, we usually recommend as the best practice of taking a copy of important data required for rollback. This data is required if we had a bad or failed upgrade and hence need to roll back to the previous version. First thing, we suggest a full database backup. A backup of the volume history file and the device configuration file. A latest working dsm-serve.opt. And we also recommend having a good copy of the version 6.3 installation binaries. Also, document the instance credentials for every instance on the server because we would be requiring this particular information during the upgrade. Please collect the data for individual instances in case of multiple instances running on the same Tivoli storage manager server. We would be now moving to the next slide. This slide is the steps from the Tivoli storage manager admin command line, which we are commonly knowing as DSM ADMC. These are to be performed in order to gracefully halt the server from the application. In this particular slide, we talk about disabling the client and server sessions and proceeding to cancel all active sessions. When you are canceling the sessions, remember that you are not going to halt the session from which you are operating because this session is required to halt the server. And at the end, you halt the server and verify no processor running. We now move to the slide number 10. In the slide number 10, we have the steps from the DB2 console prior to the upgrade. Collect the DB2 instance information for every instance using the steps mentioned. Like you have the steps of DB2 IList, which tells you about the details of the instances on the server. You have the information for the getting the database path. You have the information to get the environmental variables set from DB2 by DB2 set, and you have the information for the file. So you need to have all this information collected prior to the upgrade. We now move to the slide number 11. The slide number 11 contains of the steps which advise on the process to stop the Tivoli Storage Manager server application in clustered environment. In a Unix cluster, as standard process to halt the server, we first disable the server and client sessions and then cancel the active sessions. Then perform the steps to ensure that the Tivoli Storage Manager and the related DB2 processes are stopped and removed before the upgrade. Then suspend the monitoring of the DSM serve application resource. Ensure that the database manager is not running for any instance. Then run db2 stop for every server instance. In a Windows cluster, remove the db2 clustering from the primary node using the cluster command given in the slide. Moving to the next slide, the slide number 12. This slide gives us details on the common permission requirements in Unix and Windows. Like you have the permissions related to the files maximum file limit. You have regarding the user of ls user logins, and you also have the information regarding the UAC, that is the access control. The mentioned requirements are to be reviewed before the start of the upgrade in order to ensure that the upgrade does not fail due to known permission issues. Usually, there are lesser issues seen in Unix or Linux, but Windows permissions needs to be validated as per the slides in order to have successful upgrade. Additional requirement is that the server instance password has to be confirmed, and correct password for every instance has to be documented prior to starting of the upgrade. Also, it is advised to keep the Tivoli storage manager admin password documented before you start the upgrade. We now move to the next slide, which is slide number 13, which takes us from here. We take you through the actual upgrade process. In this slide, we provide the information about the IBM web locations for downloading the correct package as per the planned upgrade. For example, if it's a new package for with a license, you need to download it from the IBM Passport Advantage. If you need to download a file without a license, then it would be Fix Central. And you can also download the updates from IBM Support Portal. We now move to the slide number 14. This is Installation Manager. This slide provides a brief description of the IBM Installation Manager, which is used to upgrade many IBM products using remote or local repositories. One of these products is a Spectrum Protect server, which we are performing here. The Installation Manager is added since 7.1x and is the only program for the upgrade. Note that if this program is modified manually or uninstalled, the working Spectrum Protect server components cannot be changed, which means it cannot be uninstalled, it cannot be upgraded, it cannot be modified. The Installation Manager uses a shared resource directory to store installation packages. This may be needed for rollback and uninstall. We move to the slide 15, which will refer us to the methods of upgrade. There are three methods as we see in the screen. The first is Installation Manager GUI. The second one is console mode. And the third one is silent mode. The Installation Manager GUI is specifically used when you have X Windows on Unix Linux, and it is the preferred method on MS Windows. The other method is a console mode, which is used from command line. The last one is unattended silent installation, which runs with pre-configured response file. Out of this, usually the console method and the GUI methods are the mostly preferred methods for the upgrade. Let me take a quick break here. Thank you. We will now take a look at the sample of upgrade process to version 7.1.7. We are using the Installation Manager GUI method here, as this is a Microsoft Windows environment. The steps given on the next slide here are with screenshots for the upgrade activity for you to understand the process. Here we see that the appropriate slide has been downloaded to the installation directory. It has been extracted, and we are running the install.batch file with an administrative privilege so that we do not face any permission issues. We move to the next slide. Okay, you can find the Installation Manager installed here. because in our setup it was pre-installed. But in your case, when you are trying to do an upgrade uh, where the installation manager is not installed, it would be uh, ready for the installation. And for new install, the checkbox would be available for selection. And after you select it, select next to proceed. Okay. Then comes the page for install location and license agreement. Okay. This is not shown here because we have that's a common slide. You may change the default install location for the installation manager and accept the license. Okay. We are in slide number 18. In this slide, we see preview of the selections made for the installation manager upgrade. Review it and select install. Next window shows progress of the upgrade. That's not shown here. We directly come to the slide which shows us about the completion. The installation slide shows us the green tick mark which indicates that no issues were reported. It would request restarting the installation manager in order to sync with the operating system. With the installation manager installed, we now move to install the server components into the server. We are in slide 20. This slide shows us that we are now ready to install the IBM Spectrum Protect components from the package. Select the install button on the installation manager, the one we have highlighted in our slide. In case you are updating the interim fix, iFix, which we normally see, the button to select is update. Use modify to repair the installation. Use rollback for reverting to a previous version of 7.1, and uninstall if you want to uninstall the installation manager after the Spectrum Protect package was installed. Here we select install as we are upgrading a major version. We are now in slide number 21. Here select the appropriate components of the IBM Spectrum Protect for the installation. The operation center would be selected only if we are installing on the same server, otherwise excluded. The storage agent also would be excluded installing on the same server. Select next button after selecting all the components. So we now move to the next slide. Okay. Here we see the path of the shared directory location for the IBM Spectrum Protect server. In case there is a requirement to install the software in different location other than the default, you may change it. The shared resource directory is the location where the installed software related information would be saved in case of few further changes or upgrade or uninstall. If you see in the slide, the same thing is mentioned in the slide. So you can also check it. Select next once done. Okay. We are in the slide number 23. Here we see the preview of the selections made for the upgrade in the previous steps, as we see in the previous slides. We also see that the install path for the Spectrum Protect under TSM. In case there is a requirement to upgrade the software in specific location other than the default, you may change it. Select next once done. We are in slide number 24, which also informs us or gives us the options to select the edition of the Spectrum Protect server. Please select the product for which the license is purchased. You may not get this option when you upgrade an interim fix on the already running FixPack 7.1 or 8.1 server. The products for our selection are one of the following, which is Spectrum Protect Standard Edition, Spectrum Protect Extended Edition, as per the license agreement with done with the IBM. We are in next slide. Accept the license and agreement and proceed next. Okay. In this particular slide, this slide is an important step about the instance upgrade along with the software upgrade. Unless the instance credentials are validated correctly, the instance cannot be updated and the next button won't be enabled. Note in this case, if you accidentally delete the instance update option and move to next step, you may lose the existing instance, which would get deleted, and then new instance would be auto created, and you will have to configure the instance using the DB2 information which you collected in earlier steps prior to the upgrade. Once you have verified the instance and it is validated, move to the next step. We are in the slide 27. This slide shows us the summary of the selections we made for the server upgrade, including the target location and the package as seen in the screen. Once confirmed, select install and you will see the progress of the upgrade in the next window. Okay, this is the last slide for the installation GUI. In this slide, we see the green mark. This states that everything was successful. In case if there were issues, it will report the warnings or messages, and we would be required to review it. We move to the next slide. Our installation is completed. We now need to validate our installation. After the upgrade is completed, we should confirm the levels of the software upgrade is as per desired. During the first time after the upgrade, it is recommended for all operating systems to start the server in foreground. After running the dsmserv command, the screen would show the new upgraded Spectrum Protect server version as shown in the slide in front of you. The text is highlighted in yellow. The version number is 7, the release is 1, the level is 7. There is no interim fix. If it shows the desired version of the upgrade, then it means that your upgrade was successful. There's other alternative way of checking the upgrade is through the DB2 level. You can run the DB2 level command from the DB2 path to confirm the version is the upgraded version as per the table provided. One of the example is in case if your server is upgraded to 271x, the DB2 level should show you 10.5, and if it is 81x, it should show you 11.1. We now move to the next slide. In case your upgrade fails, the step to collect the upgrade failure diagnostic information from the IBM installation manager is shown in the slide. The file and the help tabs are available on the left top side of the installation manager as shown in the slide. To collect the data for upgrade failures, select the option of export data for problem analysis under the help tab and send it to IBM support after raising a PMR. In the next slide, we are discussing about some known issues faced during the upgrade, some scenarios which have been encountered, and some easy recommendations to resolve the issues yourself. In slide number 31, which is there in your screen, we discuss on the scenarios of the upgrade failure due to issues encountered during the DB2 upgrade. This upgrade, as seen here, failed as a previous DB2 process was not completely stopped prior to the upgrade due to some other related process. So, to resolve this, confirm that the process and the related service for that specific process, which is shown in the install log, is stopped prior to the upgrade, and verify that your DB2 is stopped. And once it is done, you can restart your upgrade. We now move to our next slide for the issue which is encountered. That's a common issue. After the upgrade is completed and the server started, the aclog and command in the slides shown indicates messages stating that the server is not in compliance. You will be able to see this particular message in your aclog, and later when you do a query license, you're also going to get the message stating server license compliance failed. So to resolve this, the first confirm that the license is installed on the installation manager. There is a step given in the slide about how to perform the check of installation. For the version above 7.1, the license needs to be installed from the package downloaded from the installation from the Passport Advantage. After installation is confirmed, register the license with the purchased version file. That is as per the resolution step number 1. After that, the step number 2 tells us register license. So you register the process, once it is done, restart your Spectrum Protect server application. In case the license is installed and even after register license and the license compliance still fails, you may need to reinstall the license package and re-register. We now move to the next slide, which is about one of the other scenarios wherein you perform the upgrade but the server is not starting up. This is because your instance is missing. The error related to startup the server is because your instance was deleted when you did not verify the instance or skip it unintentionally, and the new instance did not get recreated automatically as per the process. So here the resolution is to recreate the instance and reconfigure it to the DB2 level. Once done, you can try starting the server and it would start fine. We now move to the next slide. This slide will be helpful in the case when you had issues with your upgrade and there were complicated resolutions and there were time consuming situations where it was required to roll back to the previous version in order to have your backup environment stable. This particular steps would come in handy Of course, we do have the information about the steps in the notes below on the slide, which we would share with you later. This would be helpful if you're not willing to wait for the troubleshooting of the upgrade and need to start the server. As we discussed, ensure that the mandatory requirement here is ensure that the previous version software package along with the license is available to perform the rollback. We now move to the next slide. This slide has references to the links helpful for the upgrade. With this, we now conclude the presentation on the server upgrade, and we are now open for your questions.